A very warm welcome to all of you. Today, we're diving into one of history's most powerful lessons on faith, on failure, and, maybe most importantly, on accountability. We're going to unpack the story behind a really shocking military defeat, the Battle of Uhud, and see how the divine commentary on it offers some timeless wisdom for when we're navigating our own trials. All right, let's get into it.
So, at the very heart of this story is this deeply, deeply human question. After a devastating loss, the community was just reeling, asking something we've all asked in moments of crisis. How? How could this happen? Why us? This verse just perfectly captures that feeling of confusion and grief, and it totally sets the stage for a profound and honestly a pretty surprising divine answer. To really get the shock of Uhud, you have to remember what happened right before it. And that was the miraculous victory at Badr. The believers had overcome impossible odds. The scripture says they had struck the enemy with a blow twice as great. So this defeat at Uhud wasn't just a loss, it was a stunning 180. It felt like the entire world had been turned completely upside down. And then that chaotic aftermath, with everyone's face shaken, the community didn't just instantly pull together. Nope. Instead, that void was filled with something way more dangerous: doubt, rumors, and slander. You see, the first battle was on the field, but the second one, that was a battle for the very heart of the community itself.
And this brings us to a specific, and frankly, an ugly accusation. A rumor started to spread, pushed by the hypocrites in their ranks, that the prophet himself had committed ghulul, basically that he'd cheated and taken a portion of the war booty for himself. This was a direct shot at his integrity, and it was designed to cause the most chaos possible when people were at their most vulnerable.
Well, the divine response was swift and it was absolute. This verse, it doesn't just defend the prophet, it lays down a universal rule. It's literally impossible for a prophet to commit that kind of betrayal. And then it does something brilliant. It flips the script. The focus shifts from the accused to the accuser, and really to all of us. The point is that real accountability isn't about earthly rumors. It's about what you show up with on the day of resurrection. The problem wasn't the prophet. The problem was the betrayal brewing in people's hearts.
Okay, so let's track how this thing escalates. It goes from this internal doubt to just outright betrayal. The crisis at Uhud didn't just expose whispered doubts. It revealed open treachery from a group who claimed to be part of the community, but whose actions, well, they proved otherwise. Their betrayal basically unfolded in 3 stages. First, they cooked up these really weak excuses to justify leaving. Second, they acted on it. They deserted their brothers right before the battle started, which, you can imagine, was a catastrophic blow to morale. And third, after the battle was lost and believers had died, they added the ultimate insult. They mocked the very people who had just fought and given their lives. And get this was their excuse. It's so transparent, it's almost funny. Oh, if we knew there would be a real fight, of course we would have come. The Quran immediately calls us out, saying they were saying with their mouths what was not in their hearts. It's just a brilliant illustration of what hypocrisy is, right? That gap between what you say and what you actually believe.
This is where the arrogance just goes off the charts. The hypocrites, sitting safely back home, looked at the fallen martyrs and said, "See? If they had just listened to us and been cowards like we were, they'd still be alive." They actually tried to reframe their own cowardice as wisdom and the believer's courage as foolishness.
And the divine rebuttal is just devastating in its simplicity. The challenge is thrown down. Oh, so you think your choices saved you from death? Okay then, go ahead. Prevent death from yourselves entirely if you're so powerful. That question just completely shatters their logic. It's a reminder to them and to us that nobody escapes their appointed time. Avoiding one battle doesn't make you immortal.
So after digging into the blame, the betrayal, and the arrogance, we circle all the way back to that first haunting question. From where is this? Why did this happen? Well, the divine commentary gives the final answer, and it is a masterclass in radical accountability.
And there it is. So simple, so direct. The answer wasn't some external enemy or a random shift in divine favor. The revelation is unflinching. Say, it is from yourselves. The cause of the defeat, specifically the archers who disobeyed a direct command to hold their position, it came from within their own ranks. That must have been a stunning moment of introspection and responsibility.
But it goes even deeper than that. Yes, the cause was human error, but the event itself happened by divine permission, and for a very specific reason. It was a test
Think of it like a filter. The hardship of Uhud was designed to purify the community. Its whole purpose was to make it crystal clear who the true believers were, the ones who stood firm, and to expose the hypocrites for who they really were. So the test was given, and the results were in. Now let's look at the consequences, at the lessons that came out of this trial by fire. It basically laid out two very different paths for two very different groups of people.
The scripture asks a pretty crucial question here. Is someone who seeks God's pleasure the same as someone who earns his anger? I mean, the answer is a resounding no, of course not. They're on totally different levels, different degrees in the sight of God. And their destinations couldn't be more different. One path leads to paradise, the other leads to hell. The lines that were drawn in the sand at Uhud, well, they had eternal consequences.
Now, after all of this, the defeat, the death of loved ones, the betrayal from within, it would be so easy to feel like everything was lost. But the revelation pivots one last time to deliver the most crucial lesson of all, reframing the whole experience by reminding them of the one blessing that trumped everything else.
Turns out the greatest favor wasn't winning a battle or getting worldly spoils. It was the presence of the prophet himself. His mission, to recite God's revelation, to purify them, to teach them the scripture and wisdom, that was the ultimate gift. And the message here is so profound. You can lose a battle, but as long as you have guidance, you haven't lost the war. That blessing outweighed any single defeat.
And so, the story of Uhud leaves us with this powerful question for our own lives. In our moments of failure, in our crises, what's our first instinct? Do we look for someone else to blame, for some external cause to be angry at? Or do we have the courage to learn this lesson, to look inward, to take accountability, and to find the wisdom that's hidden inside the trial? That is the echo of Uhud. Thank you for joining me.